Abu Zar Ghifari, whose other name was Jundub bin Janada, had went to Madinat al-Nabi, which at the time was called Yathrib, right? When it was heard what Muhammad was proclaiming, and then he accepted Islam. And he, after the Prophet's wife Khadijah and Ali, had accepted Islam. Now, there could have been one or two people before that. Between the first two and him, like Abu Bakr, probably. And so, eventually, it was the caliphate of Uthman, and he was told to go back to his hometown of Rabza. And Ali said to him that the bad feeling that was directed at him was in the cause of God. And people were concerned about the merely worldly. That doesn't mean that they would have missed out of enjoying this world, but, people were concerned, and that's why they were sent away. But he was to know in the future who would be the one who really gained by the situation. And even if the macrocosm and the microcosm were closed off to a person, their regard of God would be a greater opening. And he was reminded to only be attracted by what is right. One verse that he would, two verses that he would recite in the presence of Uthman were La yastavenu kalladina yuminuna billahi wal yawmil akhir yujahidu bi'amwalihim wa anfusihim wallahu alim bil muttaqin. Innama yastavenuka alladhina la yu'minuna billahi wal yawmil akhir wartabat qulubuhum fahum fi raybihim yataraddadun. And these verses, of course, remind people to not focus on hoarding up the precious things, but to spend in God's way against a punishment hereafter. And of course, one of the things we learn is that those who don't pay their poor due, well, then they're punished with their wealth hereafter. And you know, it's going to punish in the way of the wearing it and the carrying it and the, using it per se. So saying 224 reminds us that greediness is what weighs us down, what restrains us. Saying 225 reminds us that gratefulness is a source of belief, and it's acted out, it's spoken about. So the good thoughts, the good words, and the good deeds are in what Aleister Crowley called the mother stage, because the mother stage is where you have the relationship, a development is, that weaning stage. And, early on and all that, even after that, to the age of 7 for the most part. And it's where you get the great those relationship skills, that gratefulness, these stories and all that sort of stuff. And the father stage, for example, is you're trained in the skills and you get the rules. And then, so the commandments, all that is, so the scripture itself, the form of it and all that is the mother stage. The commandments is the father stage, and the child stage is, the spirit of the matter, and that brings you to further development, of course. And of course it gives you the you make the determination for yourself. Are these conclusions according to what God has revealed and what God has inspired, or is it not? And saying 226 reminds us that if we're one of these people that is saying, oh, well, they're displeased with their fate, it's, in a way, a displeasure towards God. So let's focus on reading the Quran, on reciting the Quran, by implication, listening to the Quran, too. That we act out the Quran rather than make what we've witnessed as something of a mockery. And there are things that never leave us. And if we look at the rich and render submission to them because they're rich, that's, and are the celebrity or whatever, a third of our religion goes out the window in the face of that sort of thing. So those three things can take away your religion to something recognizable, that you're displeased with what has been judged is what you need, or what you will have to make the right decisions. You look at somebody in a higher position than you in this world, and you allow them to make your decisions. That's another part of it. And then the other final part, of course, is that you don't act on the religious teachings. And that's one of the things that they're trying to get us all to do now, right? They're trying to get us to treat religion like it's a ritual, like it's scripture. But don't bring it into your politics. Politics is a combination between polite and citizenship. Why can't your regulations of a spiritual matter, of how you deal with all of humanity, why can't, because that's really what religion is supposed to be, not just some building, Isn't that where the problems of society are coming from?